Unveiling 10 spine-chilling internet stalker tales, terrifying encounters revealed and exposed. In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, Sarah thought she had finally found peace. After a tumultuous divorce, the routines of carpooling, playdates, and designing in the sunlit comfort of her small home settled her. Her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, filled their days with laughter and her wild, colorful imagination. Yet, lately, it had started to feel like an unseen puppet master was playing with their lives. One morning, Sarah reached for her favorite coffee mug only to find it gone. Shrugging it off, she noticed the comforter on Lily's bed was tucked in perfectly, which made her heart skip a beat. "Did I do that?" she muttered to herself, pouring her coffee. It was easy to dismiss her forgetfulness until Lily innocently declared, "Mommy, my new friend says you love pancakes for dinner." A chill slithered up Sarah's spine. Who is this new friend? The air thickened with tension as paranoia washed over her. Her online world offered occasional solace, a kind comment from a follower who seemed harmless at first. But then came the unsettling messages with details only someone close would know, hot breath against the back of her neck, making her skin crawl. Her nights turned restless, echoed by distorted thoughts of the stranger hiding in the shadows of the internet. What's happening? She thought, her heart racing as she lay in bed, listening for any sound that whispered danger lurked nearby. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. That night, as darkness closed in like thick fog, Sarah found herself locked out of her own home. Dread filled the air, heavy and real. She stood on the porch, breath fogging in the cold, and felt the weight of unseen eyes upon her. The familiar streets of Maplewood, once a shield against the world, now felt like a labyrinth of horror. Every shadow seemed to flicker, every rustle, a forewarning. She stumbled into a convenience store, vulnerability pooling at her feet like spilled milk. Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered ominously as she scanned the aisles for familiarity, panic clawing at her throat. Then it happened. A figure slipped from the darkened corner, a friend she'd once confided in, their cheerful demeanor twisted into something nightmarish. Their smile, once warm, now radiated a cold, predatory energy. Sarah's instincts screamed. Trust shattered. She could feel the unease creeping inside her heart as the looming figure loomed closer, echoing a harrowing question: could this person be the key to her safety, or was this the very monster she must escape? Choking on rising terror, she felt the fabric of her perfect little life fraying, unraveling as the shadows closed in tighter. Would she and Lily escape the darkness, or would they become just another haunting tale whispered through Maplewood? Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. The edges of her world blurred, narrowing down to the figure before her. Familiarity gave way to fear, twisting memories into shadows. She forced a smile, trying to mask her anxiety. "Hey, Tom. I didn't expect to see you here." He stepped closer, the fluorescent light catching his eyes, dark, hollow, alive with a light she didn't recognize. "I was just passing through," he said, the smile stretching unnaturally across his face. "You look worried. Is everything okay?" A jolt of adrenaline made her pulse race. She had confided in Tom once about her psychological struggles, her fears of being alone. But had he taken those moments and twisted them into something sinister? She couldn't tell if the warmth of their past friendship was still intact or if it had soured into something rotten. "Yeah, just a long day," she replied, insistent even as she wanted to bolt for the exit. The store felt suffocating, more like a trap, and she could almost feel the neon lights closing in. Each second stretched painfully. "Is Lily all right?" Tom interjected. His tone was casual, but there was something sharp beneath it, like a knife hiding in a friendly gesture. I've heard things. She's such a sweet girl. Sarah's stomach plummeted. What do you mean? The question escaped as a whisper, her voice trembling. Kids talk, he shrugged, an unsettling glint in his gaze that sent a chill through her spine. Sometimes they say things they shouldn't. Panic surged, tight and constricting. What had Lily told him? What had she inadvertently unleashed? I really should get back, she'll be waiting for me, Sarah said, forcing her voice steady, edging away. But Tom took another step closer, the space between them shrinking. You shouldn't be scared, Sarah. I can help you. We can help each other. After all, you've always been special to me. His phrase twisted in her mind, a creeping wave of dread washed over her. The warmth that had once been there was now an icy grip. No, Tom. I have to go, she insisted, backing away as his eyes darkened with a growing intensity. The exit loomed ahead, but escape felt distant. Her body appeared rooted to the floor. She glanced around, desperately searching for a way out, as Tom's voice dropped to a low murmur, seductive yet foreboding. What if I told you I already know what you're hiding? I know everything. Fear clawed at her insides, mingling with rage. Somewhere inside, a voice screamed to run. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the store, a shelf falling, bottles shattering, setting off a cascade of panic around them. In that fleeting chaos, Sarah seized her chance. She dove through the narrow aisle, sprinted toward the exit, her heart pounding as she flung the door open. The cool night air hit her like a splash of cold water. She didn't look back, she couldn't afford to. As she raced towards her car, each step filled with urgency, she heard footsteps behind her, quick, confident, relentless. Sarah! Tom called, his voice curling menacingly, a predator in pursuit. We're not done yet. She fumbled for her keys, hands slick with sweat, fear knotting her chest. Would she even make it to safety? When she finally heard the sound of a lock clicking and the door slamming shut, the world settled into a tense silence. But the creeping dread did not fade, if anything, it just shifted. She was safe for now, but this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Back in the relative protection of her car, she fished for her phone, but a new message pinged, a notification she hadn't seen before. Her pulse quickened as she opened it. Don't think running will save you, Sarah. I'll always be watching. Was it Tom? Or was it someone else lurking in the shadows? Fear tightened its grip, and for the first time, she felt the true depth of despair settle in. What was happening to her life? As she contemplated if returning home meant safety or danger, a shadow darted past her rearview mirror. Sarah's heart dropped. Who was really watching? The engine roared to life, but the sound was swallowed by the night as Sarah gripped the steering wheel. Her knuckles turned white, and she took a moment, trying to calm her racing thoughts. The road stretched ahead, dark and winding. Home felt like a fortress, the shelter she craved, yet her mind swirled with uncertainty. As she drove, Sarah could feel her pulse thrumming in her ears, loud and relentless. The trees lining the road loomed like silent sentinels, their twisted branches clawing at the sky. She glanced at the message again. It felt suffocating, almost like a presence breathing down her neck. I'll always be watching. It echoed in her mind as if it were haunting her, refusing to let go. Was Tom really behind all this? Or was there someone even more sinister lurking in the shadows? The thought chilled her deeper than the October night air. She flipped through her contacts, unsure who to call. The few friends she had lived too far away to help. It felt isolating, a stark reminder of how alone she truly was. As she approached an intersection, her headlights flickered. The power of the car dimmed momentarily, casting twisted shadows that danced on the pavement. All at once, the streetlights blinked out, plunging her into a veil of darkness. Panic surged again. She gripped the wheel tighter, each heartbeat pounding against the hollowed-out timbre of her chest. Then, the silhouette emerged. At the edge of her headlights, she could see someone standing there tall, immovable, like a statue. Her heart raced, the world narrowing to that figure. Another wave of fear crashed over her, and she almost pressed the accelerator, but something held her in place. Sarah, a voice sliced through the stillness. Not Tom's, but something colder, more distant. It seeped into her skin, chilling her bones. Who are you? She called out, her voice trembling, barely a whisper. That shadow shifted then, a flicker of movement that set adrenaline coursing through her veins. As the figure stepped closer, the night's silence deepened, pressing down on her like a weight. A flash of recognition hit her. It was a face she'd only seen in passing a neighbor who lived a few doors down. Deep-set eyes appeared sunken, and a grim smile grazed their lips. Just a friend, Sarah. Here to help you or perhaps to warn you, the neighbor said, the words dripping with coldness that sent shivers down her spine. You shouldn't have come back to the darkness. The engine sputtered again, and her breath quickened. The car was losing power. In an instant, she hit the gas, swerving to avoid him, but the headlights illuminated the twisted grin on his face before he vanished into the shadows again. Despair clawed at her. How long had he been standing there? How much did he know? She could feel madness creeping into her mind. All the missing links, those times she felt watched, those odd happenings, could it all connect? The road twisted and turned, but Sarah was barely steering, her mind was caught in a whirlwind of terror. Every inch of her screamed to go home, to safety, but the cacophony of paranoia drowned out rational thought. Do I turn back? She thought. Or keep going? As if answering her unspoken question, her phone buzzed again. The message made her blood run cold. Another alert flashed across the screen, you'll never be alone again, I promise. A cold sweat formed as dread sank its claws deeper into her heart. She glanced at the rearview mirror and froze. Two glaring eyes reflected back at her from the shadows behind. Was it Tom? Or something else entirely? What do you want from me? She yelled into the void, panic tightening its grip. But no one answered. The air grew thick with looming dread, and as she sped away from the intersection, that familiar sensation of being hunted surged back. The fear was primal, almost instinctual. The road felt endless beneath her tires, a pitch-black chain holding her fast. As her headlights carved a path through the darkness, she couldn't shake the sense that she was not just running from something but toward something much worse. And she was right. Before she knew it, a figure suddenly stepped into her path. Sarah slammed on the brakes, the world exploding into noise and blinding panic. In those final moments, she realized the truth: escape was a fantasy. Her car skidded to a halt, but what awaited her next wouldn't let her hide again. Welcome back, Sarah, the familiar voice whispered from the shadows, merging seamlessly with her own growing dread. But who, or what, had really returned? The headlights caught the figure briefly, illuminating a smirk that twisted her stomach. The familiar voice echoed like an old haunting. Welcome back, Sarah. The figure stepped closer, no more than a shadow clinging to the edge of the light. It wasn't Tom. Somehow, she knew that with a chilling certainty. Her heart raced as she gripped the wheel, knuckles white and trembling. Who are you? She shouted, desperate and defiant, trying to mask her fear. The figure tilted its head, allowing the night to swallow the stillness between them. You really don't remember? The voice dripped with a sickening sweetness that made her skin crawl. No matter, you will soon. A shadow stretched and twisted in her headlights, a dark spider creeping across the glass. She had to move. The engine growled as she floored the gas, tires screeching against the asphalt. The car lurched forward, but the figure darted to the side like a wraith in the night. Instinct kicked in, a primal urge to survive. As she sped past, Sarah glanced back, and a wave of icy dread clutched her heart. The neighbor had vanished, but the weight of his presence lingered like a fog in her mind. The road disintegrated into a blur of trees and darkness. She gripped the wheel tighter, focusing on each curve, each patch of black ahead. Was it just her imagination, or did she hear whispers? Echoes of her name, soft sighs in the wind that tugged at her consciousness. Get home, she whispered to herself. Get home. But home wasn't a refuge. It was a reminder of everything that had come before. Memories flooded her mind as the trees rushed past. Was this all connected? The strange messages, the sudden returns of people she thought were gone, could the darkness be claiming its own, piece by piece? Suddenly, the radio crackled to life, breaking the suffocating silence. A distorted voice echoed from the speakers, a malevolent chuckle dripping with malice. Running 1T save you, Sarah. You know too much now. The game has just begun. She fumbled for the dial, trying to turn it off, but the voice only grew louder. You think you can escape me? You've always been part of this, a pawn in my little game. Panic surged, blurring her vision. No. I'm nobody's pawn. She screamed, as she swerved to avoid an unseen barrier, her breathing shallow and frantic. With each heartbeat, the shadows seemed to grow closer, as if the very darkness was reaching for her. The voice continued, taunting her, weaving through the space in her mind. I've always been watching. Just waiting for the right moment to reel you back in. In that moment, the realization sliced through her a sickening clarity. Tom. But as soon as she thought his name, the radio cut off. Silence flooded the car, thick and choking. Sarah caught sight of something lurking in the rearview mirror, two glowing eyes following her. Breath caught in her throat, her skin prickling with fear, she pressed the accelerator. No. Not again. The headlights flickered, the dashboard lights dimmed, the world outside closing in as shadows blurred into one. Just up ahead, a flicker of light appeared, her home. She slammed the wheel to the right, heading off the road as she veered, mud splattering beneath her tires. But as she entered the familiar driveway, panic turned brutal. The front door was already ajar, creaking in the dreadful breeze, an invitation or a warning? Get inside. A voice beckoned from the darkness, one she recognized amidst the terror. It was Tom, standing at the threshold, arms open wide, a sickly sweet smile stretching across his face. Welcome home, Sarah. I've been waiting. Her heart pounded, a war between instinct and hope raging within her. What did he know? She had to choose. Could she trust him, or was he part of something much deeper, something she was still blind to? In that pressurized moment, time seemed to freeze, holding her breath and the dark secrets it entailed, as the world around her twisted into an enigmatic nightmare. Make your choice, Sarah. Come inside or face what lurks in the shadows. But how could she? With every step closer to the door, she felt the weight of the shadows grow heavier, as if they were alive, ready to leap at her feet. The last tendril of doubt grasped at her mind, and at that moment, her heart crashed against her ribs. What awaited her inside was the true terror she had yet to face. Dread coursed through her veins. And as she stood in that driveway, her grip on reality wavered. What was more frightening, the shadows waiting outside or the secrets waiting within? The air around Sarah grew dense, pressing against her. The porch light flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced ominously on the walls of her childhood home. Each heartbeat resonated in her ears, echoing louder than the distant whispers that taunted her. The darkness behind her seemed to surge, hungry and waiting. Sarah, come here, Tom said softly, each syllable wrapped in something sinister. His smile didn't reach his eyes, the warmth in his voice was just a veneer, hiding a coldness that cut beneath. Why are you doing this? She demanded, trying to steady her voice. Anger and fear battled within her. She didn't want to seem weak, but the uncertainty clawed at her insides. Tom's expression fluctuated, a flicker of annoyance darting across his face, but it was gone in an instant. You're home now, he replied, stepping back slightly, his posture inviting yet defensive. "I'll keep you safe from that thing outside, but you need to trust me." Behind him, the interior of the house lay cloaked in shadow, a vacuum waiting to draw her in. It smelled of dust and loss, a reminder of everything she once cherished. And yet, the faintest trace of something rotten lingered in the corners, a hint of decay that sent a chill through her. "I can't just walk in there," she said, realization settling heavily on her shoulders. "What's really going on, Tom?" For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw a flicker of pain cross his features before he masked it with that sickly sweet smile. "You know how it always feels to return home, don't you? The comfort, the safety, it's all here for you." The wind howled through the trees, mimicking her unease, and she felt the urge to scream. It wasn't just Tom. It was the shadows, too. They curled at the edges of her vision, slithering closer. Just beyond her field of view, something lurked, awaiting her invitation. She could hear it whispering, a soft rustling that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. "Just come inside, Sarah," he insisted, voice grating like nails on a chalkboard. "It's all going to be all right, we can fix this together." Fix what together? The question reverberated in her mind, but she spat out a different answer. "This isn't right." Before she could turn away, the door swung open wider, a gust of frigid air flooding out, biting at her skin. "You can't keep running forever." His voice turned dark, snapping like a brittle branch. "You're tied to this place more than you realize. You won't escape me or the past." Suddenly, the radio crackled to life again, drowning out her thoughts. It was that same eerie voice, low and malevolent, echoing off the walls inside. "Don't you see, Sarah? He's lying. You belong to me." Her pulse quickened. She spun back to Tom, catching his momentary reaction, a flicker of guilt that vanished beneath anger. "You're not who you say you are," she said finally, her voice breaking. "Isolation is a harsh teacher," Tom replied, taking a step closer. "Let me show you the truth. Let me protect you from what really waits in the dark." Sarah's instincts screamed. The veneer of safety that Tom offered was shattering. By choosing to step inside, she risked a fate darker than the shadows themselves, a fate bound by secrets, deception, and the haunting past she could not escape. The whispers grew louder, demanding her attention. She closed her eyes, heart racing, her breath shallow. Too many questions hung in the air, with no answers in sight. And then she opened her eyes. The world outside felt both familiar and terrifying, charged with the unknown. "Get out of here!" a voice behind her shrieked. It was from someone she couldn't see, yet the urgency slammed into her. Tom's face twisted in frustration, a mask slipping. "You don't want to listen to them, they'll only lead you into further darkness." Her hands trembled, straddling the line between escape and the sinister pull of what lay within. The choice loomed like illuminated words on a dark page, impossible to ignore. As the shadows writhed in the periphery, Sarah took a deep breath. She had to confront the truth, whether it lived inside her home or within herself. Taking a step back, she tore her gaze from Tom and faced the encroaching darkness that beckoned behind her. "No. I want to let you win." But the ground beneath her quaked, a rumbled warning that echoed from both sides. "And what if it's too late?" Tom taunted, his voice slithering into the air. The door creaked ominously, darkness spilling from within, merging with the shadows outside, blurring the lines between friend and foe. What would she choose? As she turned to sprint toward the sound of the hidden voice, she felt the piercing gaze of two glowing eyes fixated on her, leaving her with one sharp realization: not all monsters lurk in the dark. Some wear a familiar face. And far away, in the thick of the woods, something sinister finally broke the surface. What was waiting for her just beyond the brink? Sarah's feet pounded against the cracked pavement, her heart racing as if trying to escape the very cage of her chest. The darkness taunted her, a living entity wrapping around her as she bolted toward the whispering voice, hoping that it wasn't just another trick. Tom's taunts echoed behind her, filling the air with a palpable dread, but she forced herself not to look back. "Get out!" The voice called again, clearer now. It was a woman's voice, edged with urgency and fear. "You don't want to be near him." Tension gripped Sarah. Every rustling leaf felt like a warning. The chill crept further, curling fingers of ice up her spine, while shadows flitted at the corners of her vision. She felt as if she were standing on the edge of a great abyss, where the darkness could swallow her whole in an instant. The fading light painted the trees in ghostly hues, but there just ahead the silhouette of an old swing set swung gently, creaking in a wind that wasn't there. Her childhood playground, where laughter echoed like distant bells. "Sarah!" The voice pleaded again. "Please!" She stumbled toward it, fear and longing battling within her. Memories flooded back, playing tag with her friends, the gentle push from her mother on the swings, the smell of fresh grass mixed with the sweet scent of summer. But those memories twisted, darkening as she remembered the night everything changed. The night the laughter turned to screams and the echoes of happiness fled. Suddenly, the air thickened, and a sense of dread crashed over her like a tidal wave. Tom's presence loomed somewhere behind, and she could almost feel his cold breath on her neck, whispering that she was not safe. "You can't run from me," his voice slithered across the chill night air. "You belong to this place, to me. Shut up!" She shouted, her voice trembling despite her bravado. "You're not my keeper." But doubt gnawed at her insides as she continued toward the swing set. The shadows writhed more aggressively, twisting into serpentine shapes that reached for her. She ducked and weaved, the fear of being swallowed by the dark becoming ever more tangible. Then, she caught sight of a figure sliding out from behind a tree, a woman, frazzled and wild-eyed. "Sarah! Come here!" She was clad in a tattered jacket, her face smeared with dirt, and yet there was something undeniably familiar about her. As Sarah approached, the woman's features sharpened into clarity. It was Emily, her childhood friend who had vanished years ago. "You have to trust me." Emily spat out, urgency written on her face. "He's dangerous. You have to get away from him." Memories flooded Sarah's mind like broken glass. Emily's laughter, their sleepovers, the last time she saw her, that horrible night when everything turned dark. "Emily," Sarah breathed, stepping closer, desperate, a cold sweat running down her back. "How are you here?" "There's no time." Emily shot back, glancing nervously towards the house where Tom lurked. "You must remember what he did to me, what he continues to do. He won't let you leave, none of us do." The shadows surged closer, the whispers rising to a cacophony of anguished cries. "It's not just Tom, Sarah. He's part of something much worse." Fear choked Sarah, and she felt the weight of the air constricting her lungs. Emily's eyes flashed with frantic urgency, conflicting emotions swimming in her gaze, not just fear, but something deeper, older. Shadows behind Emily clawed for her, pulling at the edges of her sanity. "I'm not leaving you!" Sarah screamed, but the ground trembled beneath them. "No! You have to save yourself. Trust the voice." Before Emily could finish, the darkness surged, swallowing her whole, and Sarah strained against it, hands reaching out as Emily faded into the swirling black. The earth shifted, and Sarah was thrown back, hard against the swing set where they once played. "No!" she cried. "No!" The shadows recoiled, and for just a moment, she felt a warmth behind her. "Trust me," a deep voice rumbled from inside her childhood home. But it was not Tom. As Sarah turned in a dizzy panic, she faced the house once more, feeling the conflicting pulls shatter her resolve. "Who are you?" she shouted into the darkness. "What do you want?" And just as the world spun and the shadows grew jaws, the voice echoed, familiar yet foreign. Everything you ever lost. Then the ground trembled violently, and with it, the unmistakable sound of laughter, twisted and cruel, echoed in the stillness. What awaited her if she chose to go back? With the memories ripping through her soul and a storm brewing within, she could almost hear the laughter from the trees, beckoning, daring her to uncover the truth buried long ago. Would she find answers in the darkness or only deeper horror? The voice hung in the air, dense and suffocating, wrapping around Sarah's mind like a tightening noose. The sound danced mockingly through the trees, twisting her nerves tighter until she felt adrift in a sea of panic. Each shudder of the ground beneath her feet sent fissures of fear racing up her legs. Sarah! The voice from the house beckoned again, softer now, almost a caress compared to the chaos around her. It held an odd promise. Come home, home. The word evoked warmth but also the creeping dread of memories long suppressed, all linked to Tom. What awaited inside those four familiar walls? She felt the shadows swirling, hungry, waiting to consume her. She turned back to the swing set, where Emily had vanished. Could she trust that voice? The fear was blinding, cutting, but she felt a strange magnetism pulling her toward the door. With a deep breath, she took the first step toward the old house, each stride heavier than the last, her heart echoing loudly in her ears. Stop! Came Tom's voice, a cold slice of ice. You really think you can escape me? Goosebumps prickled her skin. This wasn't just a game, it was a hunt. The thrill of adrenaline and the weight of despair mixed bizarrely in her gut as she opened the creaking gate and stepped onto the porch. Every creak of the boards felt like a countdown, a reminder of the danger lurking just behind her. The darkness pressed against her, thick and suffocating. The windows loomed as eyes, barely glowing in the dim light, watching, waiting. Dread pooled in her stomach as she placed her hand on the doorknob, the once warm wood now icy against her skin. With a twist, the door groaned open, revealing the dim interior. It was exactly as she remembered. The peeling wallpaper, the lingering scent of dust and decay mixing with a faint sweetness that made her stomach churn. But it felt wrong. The shadows writhed against the corners of the walls, alive, eager. Come inside, Sarah, the voice urged, now stronger, more insistent. It had a weight that pulled her deeper into the darkness of the house. She stepped over the threshold, a shiver dancing down her spine, bracing herself for what lay ahead. The living room was swallowed by shadows, but the atmosphere felt charged, electrifying. Where are you? Sarah called out, her voice trembling as she moved further in, each step echoing the doubt ricocheting in her mind. Just a little further came the reply, haunting and familiar, that twisted her heart. She felt heavy shadows coil tighter around her ankles, dragging at her, whispering unholy secrets. And then she saw it, a flickering light from the hallway. It beckoned her like a siren call, and she followed, drawn in, even as the murmurs grew louder. 1,000 voices mixed in a frenzied crescendo. Help us! The deeper she ventured, the stronger the darkness seemed to throb. It had a heartbeat, pulsing with a wicked energy. Memories flashed, old friends, lost laughter, the breaking glass of that evening when everything fell apart. The further she stepped into the corridor, the closer she felt to the very heart of the nightmare. Trust the voice, a shadow whispered again, almost warm, almost inviting. Sarah stood frozen before a door at the end of the hall, its surface smooth but shadowy tendrils swirling around the frame. What lay behind it? Would the truth set her free or bind her eternally to the horror that lingered? The laughter erupted again, sharp and cruel, ringing in her ears. Gritting her teeth, she reached for the doorknob, her pulse racing. You're not real. She shouted defiantly, a last stand against the encroaching darkness. The laughter suddenly cut off, all sound snatched from the air. The stillness clanged in her ears. Heart hammering, she threw open the door. What greeted her made her scream. A wave of darkness surged through, rushing past her like an oncoming tidal wave. And in that instant, she felt everything she had lost coalesce into a single swirling shadow before her. Sarah, it whispered, and she could almost taste her own name, sweet and bitter. A choice loomed in. That darkness, one that could change everything. Would she embrace it, even if it meant facing the horrors left in the wake of all she had lost? As the shadows began to chant her name, her heart thudded painfully in her chest. Would she step into the abyss or turn back with all the demons chasing her? The room collapsed around her like a broken dream. The darkness slammed into Sarah, smothering her senses, wrapping her in a shroud thick with despair. Her screams echoed back at her, distorted and twisted as the shadows swirled hungrily. Fear clawed at her throat, filling her lungs with a chilling weight. "Sarah," it called out again, soft like a lover's plea but laced with malicious intent. The shadow shifted, forming a face she recognized but didn't want to see. Tom's eyes glimmered in the abyss, piercing her from the other end of the dark. "No!" She stumbled backward, heart racing. But the shadow was a part of her now, pulling her closer despite her instinct to flee. The memories flooded back, fragments of laughter turned to screams, a moment that shattered their lives like glass. "Why do you leave? Did you think you could escape?" Tom's voice reverberated, echoing off the walls, twisting the air around her. "We had a life, Sarah. Together." The light flickered erratically, illuminating faces within the dark. Ghostly images of friends and family flitted by, their expressions a mix of horror and longing. Could this be a reunion? Or something far worse? "Turn back!" shouted a voice from the depths of her memory, mingled with cries for help. The shadows pulsed around her, their whispers angry and chaotic, drowning out her thoughts. "Leave before it's too late." The truth dangled in front of her, shimmering like the fleeting glints of light back in the hallway. She could turn and bolt, escape this nightmare, or she could confront it, face the past she'd tried so hard to forget. The darkness tightened its grip as she hesitated, pulling her in like quicksand. "You need me," the whispering shadows twisted her mind, luring her deeper into their labyrinthine clutches. "You can't stand alone." Her hands trembled, sweat beading on her brow. "What do you want?" she shouted back defiantly, gathering her courage. "Your soul." The answer echoed chillingly, dripping with malice. It was as if the darkness itself grinned, reveling in her desperation. Sarah felt the room pulse like a heartbeat, each thud matching the racing rhythm of her own. She turned to the swirling shadows engulfing her, the horrible realization clawing at her brain. The echoes of those she'd lost were swallowing her. If she stayed, if she listened, she might lose herself entirely. "Step into the light." Tom's image beckoned, his hollow smile pulling at the corners of her sanity. "It's safe here with me." Sweat trickled down Sarah's spine. She thought of Emily, lost in this harrowing game, haunted by the same shadows that threatened to claim her. She couldn't let them win. Not this time. "No!" she cried, her voice cracking. With all her might, she wrenched herself away from the gaping maw of despair and dashed for the door, the only escape from the tightening shadows. But the moment she turned, the reality of her choices struck hard. The room around her began to shake, the walls bending inwards as though the house itself were alive. The crack between the door and the frame turned into a black void, and a howling wind burst forth, tearing at her clothes, pulling her back toward the growing shadows. With newfound resolve, she planted her feet firmly on the ground. "I want to be yours." The words felt like a lit match in the dark, igniting a spark of strength she didn't know she had. Yet even as she spoke, the shadows shrieked in rage, their faces contorting into horrors that slipped between reality and nightmare. "You can't escape the price of leaving." That voice, a sinister undercurrent amid the cacophony, sent shivers racing down her spine. As the darkness clawed at her again, Sarah could feel her resolve waning. But she knew she had to keep fighting, to find Emily and escape whatever was lurking in that void. Then, just as her hand gripped the doorframe tighter, the shadows surged forward with a deafening roar, accompanied by a blinding flash of light so powerful it pulsed like a heartbeat. The last thing she remembered was the light swallowing her whole, obliterating the shadows as she screamed into The unknown abyss. What awaited her on the other side? The light dissolved around Sarah, collapsing into a swirling mist of fragmented reality. She was no longer in the suffocating grip of darkness but found herself standing on a cracked, desolate street, illuminated by a sickly yellow glow. "Where am I?" The words escaped her lips like a whisper, but they echoed eerily off the buildings looming in the shadows, as if the very walls were listening. She felt exposed, vulnerable, like a small fish in an ocean filled with unseen predators. The air was stale, thick with the scent of damp decay and something metallic blood. Panic began to constrict her chest again. There was no sign of the house, no door left to slam shut. Instead, she was surrounded by abandoned storefronts, their windows shattered and doors ajar, as if they had all fled and left her behind. "Emily?" she called, her heart pounding. An icy wind swept through, rustling debris like whispering spirits, but no answer came back. Her feet moved on instinct through the rubble, her senses heightened, every crack or creak causing her to jump. Then she saw them, ghostly figures of her past, flitting just beyond her reach. Faces she recognized, long lost, but their expressions twisted with despair, hollow eyes searching for something lost. "Sarah," one of them called, the voice strangled and familiar. It was Emily, but it was wrong. It felt like a twisted reflection of her friend. "Help us!" Desperation clawed at her throat. "I'm here." "Where are you?" "Come to us," they beckoned, their hands reaching out, their forms flickering like candles blown by a storm. The sight filled her with dread. This wasn't a reunion, it was a trap, an invitation into the abyss. Something surged within, a nearly primal instinct. She remembered the shadows, the screams, Tom's face twisted in anguish as he had dragged her towards the light. Whatever this place was, it held a darkness deeper than she had ever known. She turned to run, but the ground beneath her feet shifted. The asphalt cracked, fissures snaking outward like an open wound. Heart racing, she sprinted forward, but the entire street transformed into a maze of shifting alleys and walls that seemed to close in like the jaws of a beast. "Sarah," the voice grew louder, more demanding. "Stay with us, you can be one of us." "No!" she screamed, forcing her legs to move even faster. Shadows swept in at her heels, creeping closer, engulfing everything in chaotic blackness. She stumbled, nearly falling as the ground twisted beneath her. Every breath burned in her lungs, the dread creeping back, clawing at her sanity. "I want to go back," she gasped, the words firm yet shaky. "I want to let you take me." But without warning, the walls of the maze shifted again, confining her, trapping her like a bug in a web. Suddenly, she was alone, encased in darkness, the walls pressed against her as the world outside faded into abyssal quiet. A cold sweat soaked her skin, and she could barely breathe. "Join us, Sarah," the voices wafted around her, seductive and ghastly. "Be free!" Panic surged as the whispers crescendoed, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. The weight of despair threatened to drag her under, but in that moment, clarity struck. She remembered Tom's face, twisted with rage and pain as he had lost everything. "No! I refuse to be yours!" Rage ignited in her heart. She pushed against the walls, her cries mingling with the shadows. And something shifted within her. The darkness wailed in fury, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. In the next instant, the shadows recoiled, pulling back as if in fear. "You cannot escape this place, this is where you belong." But with every ounce of strength, Sarah drove forward, fists clenched. The dark shuddered and rippled like water, a barrier she had to break through. Suddenly, a flicker of light appeared in the distance, slicing through the thick darkness. Hope surged, an ember igniting, because deep down, she knew that light was her only chance. Stumbling toward it, desperate and trembling, she felt the walls push her back. "Don't you dare!" she shouted, fighting against the pull, every fiber in her body straining to move. She would either reach that light, or be consumed by the shadows. With one last desperate push, the darkness howled around her. Would she break free, or was she destined to be swallowed whole? As she plunged toward the light, a chilling thought struck her: what if escaping this darkness only led to something far worse? What awaited her on the other side? The blinding light enveloped Sarah, walls of shadow collapsing behind her like a suffocating shroud. She was no longer surrounded by chaos but by a quiet hum that resonated in her bones. The flicker of warmth bathed her, and as the light dimmed, she found herself standing on a familiar street, one she thought she had long forgotten. Maplewood. Memories flooded her consciousness: the laughter of children playing, the warmth of a family gathering, the scent of fresh grass on a summer day. Yet, amidst the nostalgia, a chilling realization settled in: this wasn't merely a return, it was an invitation to confront what she had left behind. Shivers crept up her spine, her senses tingling with the weight of every choice she had made. "Welcome back, Sarah," a voice echoed as she turned to face the dawn of her past. Tom stood just a few feet away, a twisted grin stretching across his face, illuminated by the early morning sun. But his eyes held an emptiness that sent ice coursing through her veins. She felt cornered and exposed, her chest tight, and the urge to run surged within her. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, her voice trembling but infused with determination. "What do you want from me?" Tom's expression shifted, anger contorted his features, revealing a monster lurking beneath the surface. "You were never meant to leave, Sarah. This place holds you, whether you accept it or not. You can't escape what you are, what I made you." "Stop!" she shouted, stepping back, slipping over the cold damp grass beneath her. "I won't be part of your game anymore." The world around her flickered like an old film, images of her childhood, happiness intertwined with horror. She remembered the swing set, the evening of betrayal, the shadows that had claimed Emily. It struck her then: this wasn't about escaping, it was about facing what had haunted her. "I won't live in fear any longer," she declared, a defiance blossoming within her. "I will take my life back." As those powerful words poured forth, the brightness around her intensified, light spilling from within her. The more she fought against the grasping shadows, the lighter she felt, filling cracks in her armor with radiant hope. "No!" Tom roared, and the shadows behind him surged with rage, clawing at the very fabric of reality. They twisted and coiled, striving to pull her into their abyss. But each ounce of light she summoned pushed back harder. "Emily!" she cried, desperation lacing her voice. "I will not let you be trapped. I know the truth." For a moment, silence fell, and in that stillness, she felt something shift. A flicker, a memory, the echoes of all those lost to the darkness began to hum in response to her call. The shadows wailed as if recognizing their own defeat, retreating further into the corners of her mind. All at once, Emily appeared, a shimmering form breaking free from the void, glowing brilliantly. She looked alive, radiant, unchained and free. "Sarah!" she gasped, her eyes alight with a fierce urgency. "You found the light. Together, we can break this spell." As Tom's face twisted with fury, Sarah extended her hand, and Emily grasped it, a tether forged in shared memories. Light erupted around them, engulfing the shadows in a blinding brilliance. They stood strong, side by side, pushing back against the encroaching dark. "You have no hold on us!" they shouted as one. The ground shook, and the specters that had haunted her life screamed in fury. But it was no longer Sarah alone, fighting a solitary battle. She felt the strength of the lost mingling with her resolve, creating a tidal force that surged forward. "Time's up, Tom. This ends now." With a commanding might, they hurled the shadows back into the chasm from which they came. Light poured forth, illuminating every corner of Maplewood, pushing away the darkness that had twisted lives and tainted memories. In the aftermath, as the last remnants of the shadows faded, Sarah collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily, yet filled with an exquisite weightlessness. She felt a profound sense of loss, but also release as if chains forged in. Fear and regret had fallen away. Emily knelt beside her, tears shimmering in her eyes. Memories played out like ghostly flickers behind them, tangible yet distant. "We're finally free," Emily cried softly. Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with a bittersweet sorrow. "For us, for everyone." As dawn broke in full, a lightning brightness flooded the streets. The trauma of the night lingered like a ghost whisper, yet there was hope now, a chance to build anew. She glanced at Emily, her face shimmering with familiar warmth. "We'll find a way to bring the others back," Sarah promised, hope igniting inside her. And as the sun rose higher into the sky, casting away the shadows of the past, together they stepped forward, hand in hand, into the unfurling possibility of tomorrow. The darkness had not claimed them, but instead, they had claimed their truth. They were no longer prisoners but survivors, mapping a brighter future etched with resilience and love. This was a new beginning. Now, before you go, you need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that dive deeper into these chilling mysteries. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm like never before. Don't forget to flood that comments section with your reactions and theories about how Sarah faced her shadows. You must instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and find the courage to confront their own darkness. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.